You're watching Voiceover. How did you do it? At voiceoverpodcast.com, where we talk to seasoned, successful voice actors to find out how they did it. I'm your host, Ian Kleinfeld, and you can find me at voicebyian.com. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at voicebyian. And we're recording.
Excellent.
Hello, Dee. Good morning. Or good afternoon, I guess.
I don't even know what month it is, Ian. I mean,
I think it's December still, and I think it's still 2020, but not for long.
it's Febtober 42nd.
Thank God. I thought it was I thought it was Ape June.
It might
Ape
be.
June 94th.
It's just been a really long day for a lot of people, I think.
Yeah. Have you been really busy?
Oh, no, I meant the year feels like a really long day.
Oh, the year, God. Yes.
Yeah, actually, this week's been quite nice. So not that I'm overwhelmed, but
plain whelmed.
Yeah, busier than I expected because December's been kind of
Yeah.
That would sum it up.
Well, good. I'm glad you got some final, inflow at the last minute there. That's good. Yeah.
What's good with you?
My podcast is my most exciting thing right now, actually.
Yeah.
So I've been interviewing. I think I have 8 interviews this week. So you're number like 5, I think, or 6. So I might have to actually have 9. I don't even remember.
No, that's cool though. I mean, the best thing to do is get them guests lined up before going ahead and, and sometimes you'll have to get 3 or 4 interviews done in a couple of days, and other times you'll have a couple weeks in between. So try to just get as many in the can as you can.
Exactly.
Not to give away the magic of podcasts. But...
Oh my God, you told them, Dee.
You mean this isn't done live every time?
The jury will ignore the previous testimony.
Stricken from the record.
Stricken from the record, exactly. So everybody listening, this is Dee Alvis, voiceover actor extraordinaire. And where are you located? I can't remember now.
I'm in the Tampa Bay area now, in fabulous Ruskin, Florida.
Ruskin.
Yes.
I have no idea where Ruskin is.
it's just south of Tampa. So there's the bay, and we used to be in St. Pete on the Gulf Coast side. So between the Gulf Coast and Tampa Bay. Now we're on the other side, the East Bay, as they call it. It's a little quieter.
Yeah, nice.
Except for living in a new neighborhood where there's constant construction. So,
oh my God, that's the worst. Yeah, it's in fall in our neighborhood here. We have had so many days with chainsaws and tree, stump grinders, and apparently they're redoing the manhole covers in the neighborhood.
Oh, of course.
So it's just like, I've always kind of hated noise, but I've never hated noise as much as I hate noise now that I'm doing VO. It just it makes me want to kill people.
It's one of those things where we kind of never realized. I mean, even going back to anything I've done in a recording studio, I don't think there's anything that requires the level of quiet that VO does.
Yeah.
So
you
look like you're in quite the fortress, though.
Yeah, it's a daylight basement, or as I like to call it, a mullet house. 1 story in the front, 2 stories in the back. But we are actually in the outside corner, and there's let me show you around here. So there's a window there that's covered up with rock wool, and then I have all of these automute blankets like that. And
nice.
it comes back around with the foam over there. So yeah, so it's got at least a minus 60 voice floor or noise floor.
Yeah, noise floor, right.
But that's not when there's a lawnmower next door. So it's
there's certain things you just can't. I mean, I know people who have, the LA vocal booths and the other studio bricks and things like that, and they're like, it's fantastic, but there's certain things that just can't.
Yeah, I mean, it's well treated. It doesn't echo. The sound is good. It generally dampens noises from outside, but at some point I'm just like, screw it. I'm going to head upstairs and watch Law and Order.
Dun, dun.
Dun, 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 dun. Okay, that's what you guys are listening to, us just doing the Law and Order theme. All right, so Dee Alvis.
Yeah, sorry, I
So
get
it's
really into
okay.
that bass line. It's amazing.
I know it is. Dee Alvis is a voiceover practitioner, and he owns Tattoo VO, which is a great
Yes,
name. And
yes,
I'll let him.
branding by Corey Disson and Company. So, shout out to Corey and his team.
Branding by Corey Dissent.
Yeah, it was just one of those things where trying to figure out how to position myself, and there's a lot of the rock background, but I think there's
Yeah,
some artists out there with voices that rock and demos
right.
that rock and rockety rock rock rock. So
Rock that rocks.
yeah,
Okay, so I have to ask you then, what's your favorite tattoo
my favorite tattoo.
that you
Wow.
have? That you have? Don't show us because I don't want to know where it is.
I would think so. I have like a whole sleeve of like horror. I'm a big horror movie nerd. Actually, if I turn this thing
Oh, you
this
can
way,
show
you
us
can see
that. Yeah.
some of the
Oh, nice.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
So I have a lot of action figures.
Okay, well, you
Or
can show us your sleeve. That's fine. I just didn't want you to show us your.
yeah, I mean the leprechaun I love. It's probably hard
Uh-huh.
to see on this
No, I can
crappy
see it. Yeah.
webcam, but um that's it's tough to pick a favorite because it's really like
Okay, how about this? What tattoo do you have that you wish you never got?
oh, definitely. Okay, so I have. It's not so much I wish I never got him. I just wish I'd gotten him done properly.
Oh, yeah.
So I had a buddy who was a tattoo artist for many years back when I lived in Baltimore, and he was up in Boston, and he returned to Baltimore. He was just done with that industry, and
That's not the person you want doing your tattoo.
yeah, he just got like burned out from. He was like, if one of my
Yeah,
favorite
there's like a tattoo here. I'm gonna make a face, and it's gonna look like a dog, and this dog is gonna look like a bear, and that bear is gonna just screw it.
well, it was one of his quotes that like I always tell other tattoo artists and everything too that I love. He's like, if I had to do one more damn Tasmanian devil, I think I was going to kill somebody.
Oh,
So
sure.
this was like the late 90s where every dude walked into a place, and probably some gals too, who were like, yeah, I want Taz, smoking a cigar. I want Taz, doing whatever, jumping
Right.
jacks, something. Just kind of part of that era. So yeah, so me being about what was I, 20 at the time,
Uh-huh.
uh, and I was like, "Oh, well, come on, Alex, why don't we just do some in your kitchen?" And that's what we did, and it was, it's not that he didn't have the skills, it just he didn't care enough, and he didn't have the equipment anymore, so it wasn't like, almost like going back from, say, using a fine mic like we have sitting here in front of both of us
Yes.
to switching back to some, $30 mic that you find on Amazon, like one of those
Radio Shack.
what are those something 800s that are
I
just
don't know.
basically it's the same model,
Yeah.
but it's just repackaged in about 500 different things. Like you can get it off Wish for like $3 now, probably.
Wow.
And
Speaking of
it's the
Radio
same
Shack,
tech.
Radio
Yeah,
Shack is back apparently. Did you know that? They're back.
no, and I'm
Back.
happy about it. I hope they open one in Ruskin because
Yeah.
I like being able to go to get cables and other things like that when I need it.
I don't know
And
if they're gonna have stores, but they have online, and I ordered a shirt in red with white printing because I
nice.
had to.
I mean, I've always been kind of a gearhead since
Yeah.
my music days, so, uh, just for little things like cables and just
Yeah.
adapters and all that, and I loved Radio Shack. It was just that was always convenient too. I always happened to live near one, so,
Yeah.
uh,
It used to be everywhere.
now I can't think of where I would go. Even the nearest Guitar Center to me right now is probably 40 minutes.
Yeah, Sweetwater,
So,
or Amazon.
yeah, and that's the thing, but also, like, if you wanna try stuff out, that's what I always loved about Guitar Center, like,
Yeah.
that's why I ended up, I tried the Neumann, the TLM 103, which everybody, it's one of those that people love,
Yeah.
and I was like, "Me plus Neumann is no good."
Yeah, it's
Like, that
amazing how
mic
much a different mic works for some people and just does not work for other people.
yeah, and that's, I understand why so many people swear by it, but for me, I was like, "No." And I think even in my new setup, I don't know if I'd like it. Just it captures too much, and I know you can always EQ things and whatever, but I think, for that kind of money, I wouldn't wanna mess with it as much as I needed to make it right, so,
Right. What are you
um,
rocking there?
that's the Sennheiser,
Yeah.
MKH
That
416.
is a 460. I thought so. Okay.
That's Sennheiser with 2 N's. Thank you,
Yeah.
autocorrect.
I have a Tech Zone Audio Stellar X2, which is it was only like $200, but it sounds like $500. It's really nice.
And that's the thing, is just finding the one that captures, and it also depends on what, I still have the I'll swing this guy around, my trusty
Uh-huh.
EV
Nice.
RE20. For those of us in the broadcast world, you
Nice.
know the RE20.
Looks like a Telefunken U47 for those of us who like Frank Zappa.
Yeah, there you go. Frank Zappa. My roots are in
Nice.
Baltimore, or not my root. My 19 years of my life were spent in Baltimore. I consider that to be home. So
Yeah.
Zappa's got a lot of ties there.
Yeah. 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 So, what did you play, or what do you play?
Started for very first thing instrument wise I ever did was the drums, and
Oh, me
then
too.
I decided when my parents were ready to like buy me a set when I think I was still like in fifth
Yeah.
grade or something like that, and I knew I wasn't going to commit. I couldn't imagine my
Yeah.
parents, I would have felt terrible and like, oh, thanks for spending the $500 when we don't have that money on this thing that I'm going to get bored with.
Uh-huh.
So I had like the little drum pads and things like that I worked with. And then
Nice.
finally, when it was like, I was pretty sure they were getting ready to get it for me for my birthday the one year. And then I was like, I'm not really sure about this drumming thing. So I played the flute because they
Uh-huh.
told me that's what you need to learn. When I was in grade school for band, they said I wanted to play saxophone. They said
Uh-huh.
you had to play the flute or the clarinet first to learn the technique
Mm.
before you can move up. And, you know, wasn't the most rocking of instruments. And it was really awkward. I was like, "Ugh."
Right. It's hard on your neck.
Yeah. So,
Actually, my first instrument was violin. I played that for about a year and a half, and then I played drums. And then, yeah.
that's quite the switch. Violin's not easy on your neck either. That is a
No.
very, I think of any instrument I've ever tried, even just messed around with, I was like, the people who play violin are amazing because this
Yeah.
is just, you can't see. Even playing guitar to this day, I still have to look down at the frets.
Yeah, me
Uh,
too.
and so that's the only thing I really play anymore is my guitar. So I'm actually
Yeah.
expecting a new amp for my birthday. Thanks, Santa.
Oh,
Right? Is Santa
Santa.
coming for my birthday? Am I
Yeah,
too old
we'll
for
have a
him?
little chat with Santa. So, well, I have a nice little orange amp, actually. I love that thing.
Those are
Yeah,
nice.
they have a great sound. They have a really nice, sturdy sound that you can customize. And this thing was, I think it's only like 35 or 45 watts, but it's loud
They
enough for
have that.
practice. Yeah.
And that's is it tube or transistor?
It's transistor, but it has a nice warm sound.
That's where, see, I years and years ago when I was playing in bands and stuff, and when I actually played guitar on a regular basis, which was, I would say it's my first love out of all the instruments I played. So
Yeah.
I keep coming back to it now. Nothing serious. I just wanted to screw around in the studio and do some stuff just for fun. Um, kind of get back to that
Mhm.
creative side of things.
Yeah.
And I just never, uh, I got rid of all my gear when I was probably like 17.
Uh-huh.
And then in college, I was recruited in some bands, and then I always played guitar and sang.
Uh-huh.
So a couple of these bands just wanted me to sing. So I did that, and I was on tour for a while and things like that. It was fun. Um, you know,
Yeah. No, it is fun. I love being in a band. So,
at 42 with a wife and stepson who's now about the age I was when I was first hitting the road in bands,
uh-huh.
which makes me feel really old.
Yeah,
'Cause I'm like,
no doubt.
when I was your age,
That's right.
I was playing in New Jersey and Philly
And
with
you
my
better
rock
not
and
be
roll
doing the stuff that
combo.
I was doing when I was your age.
Well, he's took it to a new level. I'm pretty sure in his,
Yeah, that's probably
but
right.
that's just how it is now.
Yeah.
I can't judge. I'm just not
Yeah.
gonna can't judge.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, it was fun times though. So do you play music still?
I do
Or-
sometimes. Yeah. I haven't played much in the last couple months because I've been so focused on voiceover. But
right.
my guitar has been staring at me, kind of glaring at me like, so I need to
Yeah,
get
I keep it here as kind of a reminder. That's what it was. So I basically pretty sure either my mother or my wife is getting me this amp uh for because my birthday's on Friday. And so I was like, they were asking me, well, didn't you used to have like, I'm like, no, no, no. if I decide to go ahead and get another half stack or something,
Yeah.
that'll be down the road. I was like, right now, I just want a good practice amp to mess around with. And with the tech now, because it has like it's this Boss amp that basically, and I was always a fan of Boss pedals. So it's got all the presets where basically like every Boss pedal can be run digitally through this thing. And I'm like, that's amazing. As you know,
Wow.
like with VO, it's like, if you get the plugins and things like that with the digital world, you can mess with your audio to great extents.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I felt like, well, again, kind of like going back to the drum thing from my childhood, like, let me make sure I'm really going to commit to playing guitar again
Right.
before we drop $1,000 on
Oh,
a
yeah.
nice
Yeah.
stack.
Yeah. So cool. Well, let's start talking about VO.
Oh, is that what we're here for?
I think so officially. I'm gonna have to put in a little thing at the beginning. Tune in at about X, XX, where we actually start talking about voiceover.
But you know what? That's the fun of doing this kind of stuff.
Yes,
Like,
it
when
is.
I was in radio and hosting podcasts, I was like, half the time I just go with whatever the conversation led.
Yeah.
So, but go ahead. Yes, let's talk about
Let's
voice
talk about
over.
voiceover.
Let me
Exactly.
check my notes. Voice over. Yes, that's how it's
Yes.
pronounced.
Nice. So your business is Tattoo VO. Your website is tattoovo.com.
Correct.
And what sort of stuff are you doing now in voiceover? What is your bread and butter, and what sort of stuff do you get to do that you love, and what do you hate?
Week to week, like this week, it's been file splitting hell. So I
Oh
did
my
a
God.
bunch of character work for a game that's hopefully going to be out in 2021. Uh, and unfortunately, it's one of those things where you're recording just, different lines where it's,
Right.
attack and this and whatever.
Right.
And so I'm playing with multiple characters, but they asked for the file splitting. So every single line I recorded, I had to
Oh
clean
my
up.
God.
So, I
What
mean,
do
I'm
you
a producer by trade. Like I've been a producer for
Yeah.
more than half my life. So it's not and it's not even the post-production. Like the post-production never bothered me. I love doing post-production.
Yeah.
It's file splitting, the tedium of, you know, character name, what's the line, write that in,
Oh,
then
no.
save. So it's the tedious
And it's
nature of
probably
that.
hundreds of lines, right?
I've gotten through about 78. Okay. All the recordings were done yesterday. All the recordings were finished up yesterday. So I've been doing editing and file splitting all day today. So it's like I didn't even bother with any auditions or anything today. I'm like, I want to get this done. So I'm
Uh-huh.
hoping to take Friday through Sunday off
Yeah.
again. So I'm like, yeah, I'm a New Year's baby. It's my birthday. So I was like, yeah, I should
Oh,
probably
happy
try to stay out
birthday.
of the booth. And thank you. And plus it'll make my wife happy if I,
Yeah.
because I do. I'm one of those people, like I always worked holidays.
Yeah.
So I got used to it, especially in my radio days where,
Yeah.
they're like, oh, poor baby. And I'm like, no, no, it's great. They give me time and a half, and I usually don't have any production. So I basically work a 6-hour day, get paid for 12. So it really ends up being double time.
Right.
And I always had people who'd come feed me on Thanksgiving. It was great.
Nice. Nice, nice. And if you
So,
love what you do, it's
and
still
that,
fun.
yeah, it really was. That was the other thing. I was like, there's no place I'd rather be, really, most days.
Yeah.
Plus, it got me out of the travel with, my family being in one town and then the significant other's family being in another town. I'm like,
Yeah.
I really want to spend a holiday just driving 4 hours. Like
Yeah.
it's not really a holiday. So
Yeah. So, what do you use as your DAW?
Adobe Audition,
Okay.
going back to the old Cool Edit days where I cut my teeth. I actually used to cut reels, and then this digital stuff came about in the late 90s, and I was
Right.
like, oh, so yeah, it was Cool Edit back in what till about 2000, I think.
Yeah, I don't
And
know. Uh-huh.
my buddy turned me on to Reaper, and I was messing with that. I don't know if
That's
it's
what I
like I
use.
didn't
Yeah.
like. It's an amazing. And I think for if I'm going to pursue doing music for fun again,
Yeah.
that's probably what I'll end up using because it's amazing.
Yeah.
I just can't figure out how to do like simple edits on it yet.
Oh,
So it
yeah.
seems like it's like really packed with so much stuff, and I'm like, and also probably because I've been using the same software for the most
Yeah.
part. I mean, I was a Pro Tools guy for a few years because I had to be. Uh, Again, with some of the music stuff I did, I messed around with other different programs like SoundForge and Cakewalk and whatever back in the day, but
Mhm.
I always
I
come
remember
back to
Cakewalk.
Adobe.
Uh-huh.
I just love Adobe's like I can do it with my eyes closed,
Yeah,
which I
Adobe
don't
is nice
recommend
like
to you
that.
kids at home.
Well, I'm a graphic designer and programmer, so to me, I grew up
Oh,
on Adobe basically. I used Dreamweaver for web
yeah.
stuff. I don't do that anymore, but I Photoshop. I've been using Photoshop since 3.0. So like back
Wow.
in 1987, I think. So
Does Photoshop go back that far?
yeah, something like
Wow.
87, 88, 80, I mean, I
I
know.
remember like Corel Draw and stuff. That was like
Yeah.
the earliest.
It was crazy back then. It was like, oh my God, look at this thing. It's insane.
I Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things I always wanted to learn some of that stuff, and I
Yeah.
just,
But the nice thing
y-
about Audition is that I mean, if you can use Photoshop, you can use Audition. I mean, sort of,
yeah, I would imagine that if you
or
can, yeah,
Flash,
if you know how to do
Yeah.
uh photo editing and video editing stuff, then audio editing is a breeze by comparison.
Yeah, but I like Reaper. It was since I'm a new small business, they charge I think $60 if you make under $20,000 a year, and 250 if you make over that, and it's a
Yeah, I mean,
one-time
for
purchase.
software
Yeah.
of that quality, 250 is a steal.
Yeah,
So
and it has a lot of, you can get a lot of plugins. I bought the, RX Standard, thing on sale, so I have all sorts of great plugins that I can use if I need to.
yeah,
Um,
Isotope makes great stuff. Like
yeah, so, but yeah, anyway, so you're using that DAW, you're stuck in file splitting hell.
yeah,
Um,
so really what I'm trying to do, I say you asked where like kind of where my bread gets buttered.
yeah,
About 50% I would say is radio commercials, and just commercials in general, but out of so let's say commercials at 50%,
uh-huh,
and then about 40%, I'm sorry, about 80% of that of the commercial match is
okay,
radio spots. So
okay,
I also produce, so I'm still producing. So Tattoo VO is more than just voiceover. It's
okay,
audio production, sound design. So I do, I'll create the whole cinemascape kind of thing for your ears.
nice.
Um, which gives
Audioscape,
me, yeah.
Caboodlescape.
But
Nice,
commercials, that's where the money is too. And
yeah,
I do a lot of character work. It just doesn't pay nearly as much as I would like.
mhm,
Ideally down the road, I'll be doing stuff for Pixar and Disney or whoever, maybe.
I hope
Uh,
so, good luck.
yeah, that would be nice. Just or Blizzard, just the video game stuff, stuff like that. Characters are where I have the most fun.
Yeah, that's
And
what I wanna do a lot of. I mean, I know the commercial is where everybody gets the money, but characters is where my heart is at. So I'd love to do, game stuff and animation. That's really where my heart's at.
yeah, and I think, initially for a lot of people, that's like what they want to get into this business for. For
Yeah,
me, it was the opposite. I never really thought about that end. It was something
yeah,
I always had fun with, but I never like, I'm like, who am I going to be? Mel Blanc here? And like, no, like
yeah,
I just never envisioned myself like that.
yeah.
But the more I've been doing stuff in this business, the more I'm like, huh, those opportunities are there. I'm working with Everett Oliver right now, a fantastic coach and casting director who does that kind of stuff. And hopefully, as we continue this process, he says to me, yes, this is the genre you should be working in.
Nice.
Because I enjoy it. I also feel like I don't put as much work into character stuff,
Mhm.
or at least it doesn't feel like it.
It comes more
Um,
naturally.
yeah, like the editing and all that stuff too. I just feel like mouth clicks aren't as much of an issue. I have the biggest problem with mouth clicks. I'm just that.
Yeah.
Like I'm
Thank you.
constantly, I go through about six
Yeah,
of these a day, and
yeah.
it's still not enough.
Have you tried the Apple trick?
That's the funny thing. I hate green apples.
We almost did a spit take there. Nice.
I'll go through like 3 bites and I'm just like,
Uh,
what is this cardboard that I'm tasting? Like,
I don't
that's
really
what
like
green
green
apples taste.
apples, but I like red apples, but they work too, don't they? Apple
Apparently not.
apples? Oh, no?
Different kind of acids or something.
Oh,
I
man.
have like different sprays and stuff I use, but like it really comes down to also like some of the meds I'm on for my blood pressure and everything. It like really dries you out and
Uh-huh.
dry mouth. And that's what I'm saying.
Right,
Like I 6 of these a day while I'm working.
right.
And then not to mention when I'm drinking
So you
for
must be sitting
dinner
on
and
the toilet
meals.
right now, right?
I mean, really, like, yeah, that would be the ideal situation. Let's get a urinal in the old in the studio. Merry
I don't know about you, but I'm in the basement, so I every time I got to go back upstairs, but that's fine. I know that people are tuning in right now to listen to us talk about toilets and urinals and water consumption, but sorry guys.
Sorry if I'm throwing you off track, but
No,
I don't get out much.
that's all right. So how do you get into the character work? Is that through Everett Oliver or Oliver Everett? Which I
I mean, Everett's just somebody I highly respected and someone who's I just put the word out to people. I was like, hey guys, I'm looking to get some more coaching. It never hurts to get more coaching.
no.
Uh, and I was just curious, other people like who somebody that people in my circle who know me and know who I've coached with and stuff. And
Mhm.
his name came up several times. I'm like, that's funny. He was in my short list. So
Oh, nice.
it worked out quite nicely. So, but this was just kind of like, well, let me sharpen these skills and make sure that I get the fine tuning that I could maybe compete on that level. So,
Nice.
promos, I love doing promos, radio imaging, always been a
Yeah.
part of what I do. Uh, Jobs seem limited in those departments, I feel like.
Yeah.
There's only so many movies being made, right?
Right.
And with every movie, so you're not going to have, whereas a movie has, up to 500 people in a cast or whatever.
Right.
There's only one or two people going to be doing those trailers.
Right. Right. Right.
So, that's something I would have Don LaFontaine, like thinking that I could be something like that. Not that I ever thought that, but it was just like, that's always what I think about when I think of movie trailers and like,
Right.
you know, and just knowing
Everybody
people in
does.
this
Everybody does because he was everywhere. He was movie
yeah.
trailers. So yeah. Um. So
John
you so
Facenda for sports, like NFL films, like
yeah.
that's the voice for me. Like that's who I would love to be. If I could be in my ideal, if you put a gun to my head and said you have to choose one particular niche to be in,
Yeah.
it would definitely like working for the NFL. NFL films would be my number one.
Nice.
So
Yeah. Who is it? I know who does that. That's oh on LinkedIn. Blanking on his name right now.
Mark Ryder does a lot of stuff
Mark
for the
Ryder.
NFL.
That's who it
Yeah.
is. Yeah. Exactly.
Ryder's amazing.
Yeah. He
Ryder
is.
does the hockey stuff for the NHL. He's the voice of the Lightning, which is my local hockey team.
Yeah.
Though I'm a Penguins, Steelers, Pirates fan, so my roots
Yeah.
are actually in Pittsburgh, even though I spent 19 years in Baltimore.
Right.
But which was hell for a few years there, being in enemy territory.
Yeah. I
But
can
no,
imagine.
Ryder's one of those wonderful, like that's the guy who I admire, and he's so helpful and wonderful in this community. So
Nice.
shout out to Mark Ryder.
Cheers,
But
Mark.
yeah, it's just I love sports, and I think being able to do promos. I was the promo voice for the Ravens for years, which is funny.
Oh,
I
nice.
the big Steelers fan who was the promo voice for the Baltimore Ravens. And
You couldn't go home.
it was fun. I have a tattoo I used to get when I used to do events for him. I'd
Yeah.
wrap an ace around it, and people would always like, "What happened?" I'd tell my Ravens people, I'm like, "I have a Steelers tattoo, right?" And they're like, "Oh, well, you don't have to cover that up." And I'm like, I just feel like it's probably wise to not be, it just looks
I mean, it's
insincere. But
Baltimore, you gotta be careful.
hey, they signed the checks. It was nice.
Yeah,
And I honestly, the Ravens organization, though I did a lot of work with them, and they couldn't have been a more classy bunch of people, like from the
nice.
marketing team to Steve Bisciotti, their owner. I miss working with the old broadcast team with Jerry Sandusky and the whole gang out there at WBAL and 98 Rock. And Jerry's the best. Jerry's one of the best play-by-play people in the world, in my opinion. So
Nice,
uh
nice. So
yeah.
so what were you doing before you got into VO?
Radio. I mean, that was it was radio. I was always a part of broadcast world. So I was on air personality. I, did news, I did sports, I did just straight rock jocking and messed around with the TV side too a bit.
Yeah,
I was never a fan of being on camera. Like
yeah,
when they had me do the lottery, and I was just like, and that was nerve-wracking because it's live.
yeah.
And so like I weaseled my way out of them. It was actually kind of funny because it came down to they said they didn't because of my tattoos, they were like, is there any way you could cover those up? And I was like, yeah, when I get dressed up, you can't see any of them. So that was always my thing. If I'm wearing like a collared shirt
Uh-huh,
or a suit and tie or whatever, I'm like, you would never know I had tattoos.
uh-huh.
Uh, and so that was always a plan for me. But then, so I asked, I was like, yeah, I can get dressed up for the lottery. And like, yeah, we don't want you dressed up though. And I was just like, so I can't be dressed up, but I can't be casual because of my tattoos. And I was like, well, I guess I'm not going to be on live TV. So,
So that worked out for you.
yeah, that was I was scared. I was just cards on the table. I was terrified because
Yeah.
if something goes wrong, there's this whole thing you have to memorize.
Yeah.
And that was my big fear. I'm like, oh, this whole entire disclaimer that I would have to memorize and shoot out there on live TV.
Uh,
Radio is different because radio is live too, but like I was always comfortable with that.
and you can also look, you have a paper, you can know who's going to see you, with your cheat sheet.
Yeah, and teleprompters I wasn't big on because I was just like, wait, where's that thing? And then
Yeah.
so I'm squinting and I'm like, uh, on camera was something that just was never in the cards for me as far as I knew. And the funny thing is I've done a lot of on camera stuff since, but it's more of like testimonials and obviously all the stuff I do on LinkedIn and whatever.
Right.
My videos, but
your dad jokes.
Yes.
Yes, Dee does a lot of dad jokes, people.
That was just something for the pandemic. Like people were so miserable. And I remember March just being like, how can I just bring something positive and silly and stupid and just give people even like,
and everybody loves dad jokes, even if they hate them.
Yeah. It's like they cringe, but they're like, all right. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So give us a good one right now. How's that?
Let's a dad joke on the spot.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Man. I had another Santa Claus one that I wanted to do, and I was trying to remember.
All right, I'll give you one.
Okay.
So I was walking down the street the other day, and this guy threw like cheese and milk and yogurt at me, and I was like, "How dare he?"
And that's the other thing. If a dad joke involves a pun, then it's a double win. That's like, I'm a big pun guy. So
yes, me too.
Probably why I'll never make it in comedy.
Yeah, my wife is a comedian, and I'm always, whenever I've done shows where I've done something comedic, like she does this thing where it's called attention horse comedy, and they do the roasts of so and so. So I was in the roast.
Oh, so she's like a legit comedian.
Yeah. So I mean,
awesome.
She's like semi-pro. She's not like making huge bucks, but she's out there and she does make some money sometimes.
That's how it works. Yeah. That's awesome.
So we did the roast of Jason Voorhees. So everybody dressed up as something. I dressed up as
I have Jason right here. Well, he's upside down from this.
Nice. So she was what's her name from The Exorcist? Linda Blair's character.
Yeah, Reagan.
Reagan. And I was the guy from The Shining.
Oh, nice. So you're Jack Nicholson's character?
Jack Nicholson character, yeah. And so I was accused of being very punny in my roast. So they were like, yeah, that was pretty good. A little punny, but it was pretty good. It's like,
yeah, like real comics hate puns. Like,
I know.
That's the thing. I work with a few.
You're so cute when you try to be funny around us.
Yeah. Because then my two extremes are
Virginia.
basically.
Shout out to you, Virginia. If you're listening to that, Virginia's the one who said that to me. I want everyone to know Virginia said that to me.
It's like, for me, the comedy goes from like really cheesy and lighthearted, like the dad jokes. Yeah. And then the other end of it for me is very like sarcastic and
me too.
Oh yeah, like, so I have no
hardcore wrong, right?
Yeah. So
that's what
I had friends always trying to get me, comics I knew trying to get me to do stand-up, and I was like, I would write these little routines and I'm just like, yeah, and they were like, this is great. I'm like, here's my thing, you put me on that stage and I'm gonna need notes. Like, I'll just freeze.
I need a diaper if I'm doing comedy.
Because I always just winged it. Like, I'd be on stage, whether I was performing or doing like emceeing for different events and things like that.
Yeah.
And it didn't matter if it was 100 people or 10,000 people. I owned that stage when I was on there.
Yeah.
Because I was just winging something that didn't have consequence. You know,
right? I mean? If you're winging it, it's a little easier than memorizing. Yeah.
Trying to figure out like the routine and just kind of there's so much more to stand-up comedy than I think people realize. And like those, and by the way, in 2020, I want to thank your wife and anyone else who's done that, because that got me through a lot. Like, just, I would watch a lot of comedy just to keep my sanity.
I'll let her know. Yeah, she's been very frustrated because obviously live shows are not a thing.
Hey, you can't.
I was out playing music regularly, at least once a week out in front of people, and then boom, nothing. So we did some Zoom shows for a long time. But those got old after a while, and so now I'm just focusing 100% on voiceover. Anyway, so how did you get into voiceover from radio? I guess it's a natural progression.
It was just I actually it started with just doing stuff for my university, at Towson University, where they had me be I was the on hold person. Like whenever you were on hold, you heard me. So,
Nice.
uh, so that was my first, I guess, officially paid voiceover gig.
Uh-huh.
And then it was just one of those things where I always got, so I ended up in broadcasting. Like, people would say, "Oh, you have a rich voice and you should be on the radio or you should do this." And um,
But you
kind
also
of
have
was
a
like,
very
"Yeah, it beats
versatile
working."
but you also have a very versatile voice. Like I've heard your ads and your tracks, and you can do quite a bit.
Yeah, and that was the thing. I was just trying to figure out uh, that it wasn't just about the way you talk. And I think that's
Yeah.
the mistake a lot of people think, like, "Oh, this person has a nice voice, they should be in voiceover." It's like, oh, uh, there's a lot more to it than that. I wish it was as simple as just having a deep, rich voice or whatever, because
Yeah.
then it'd be a much shallower pool and it'd be more
Right.
work for those. But no, that's the beautiful part of what we do, though. I think so many people have this misconception and this idea of like this is the box that voiceover fits in when
Mhm.
there's so much more, and just like you could have a nasally voice or you could just find your niche, just basically someone's always going to need something that you might
Right.
not think about that's
Right.
outside of the box. So
Yeah.
uh, you just gotta put in the work, believe, and do it if that's what you really want to do. But I think a lot of people find out it's actual work, and then they're
Yeah.
like, "Oh, I
No,
thought this was gonna be all fun."
it's hard work and it's a business. Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta
So
treat it as such.
so how did
And
you go ahead.
I was gonna say to those who just kind of dabble in it and make a few extra bucks on the side, there's nothing wrong with that. But it's dangerous when I see those kind of people getting a lot of attention,
Mhm.
because I think it sets a false hope and a bad standard for other people who are looking to get into this, because there's a predatory business. There's so many people out there who are just like, "Hey, come take my course and you'll be a millionaire," or whatever, like in 6 to 8 months. Like,
There's a lot of hacks out there. It's true. There's a lot of people who are just trying to take your money.
yeah. And that's if I was going to give any kind of advice to anybody trying to break into this, just like be careful who you work with.
Yeah.
Get to know other people who do this and find out from them, who's trustworthy and whatnot. So, because I made those mistakes. I stepped on a lot of landmines, and
Yeah.
that's what I do now. That's the whole purpose of like mainly what I do on like LinkedIn and YouTube and stuff is just here's my journey. Here's the screw ups I made. So hopefully you don't make those screw ups. That's my way of giving back.
What are some big screw ups you did that you learned from that you'd like to help other people avoid?
Putting the cart before the horse, namely, I thought, hey, let me just put together some stuff and send it out to some agencies.
Uh-huh.
Like I'm talking about, like I was going after like AMC and stuff when I was
Uh-huh.
had no business even being on like even on like a pay to play site at that point in my career, because
Yeah.
I didn't have the space. I was sitting in the third bedroom of my old house, thinking like, oh, I got my mic, I got this, and where's all that echo coming from? You know, uh,
Everywhere.
because that's the big difference between being an audio producer and an audio engineer too. Because I think a lot of people use those terms like like they mix them up all the time.
Yeah.
Um, an audio
Interchangeable.
engineer is who helps build the space and get the equipment right.
Yeah.
An audio producer is just the person doing all the stuff digitally.
Yeah.
So I was always a producer, not an engineer, and then I got help from some of my old engineer buddies.
Yeah.
Uh, and then I found out I was like, oh, this is going to be expensive.
Yeah.
Damn.
It is expensive. I got a consult from a gentleman, Frank Verderosa, who is a great engineer and producer, and he does a space consult, and he kind of listened to the sound, and I showed him pictures and gave him measurements, and he's like, okay, you need to do this and this, or you could do this and this. So what I wound up doing was I have this foam on one wall, which so the concrete walls on this side have foam, and on the wooden walls on that side I have automute blankets, not blankets, automute. They're called something else. Sheets, automute sheets. So it's like white over there and black over here. And then I made these bass traps, and the sound is pretty good in here. So,
Yeah, no, it
but
sounds
it
great.
cost a lot of money to buy all this stuff, and It's not a cheap business to get into, and it's interesting how many people think that it's just like, oh, I just get a mic and I do a thing, and no, no, no. I've spent, you've got your demos, you've got your room, your mic, your equipment, computer, everything. Um,
Yeah.
so, so how did you transition from, doing like radio and spots at the college to actually doing it professionally?
Yeah. So at the college, it was just kind of like I just did it as a hobby.
Yeah.
And then I got recruited to do this new thing that NPR was taking over at Towson. Um, excuse me. So basically, they were going to try and turn that signal into a NPR affiliate.
Uh-huh.
So I got recruited for that and then spent about 10 months working for free doing all this stuff to help build them up. And that
Uh-huh.
was WTMD 89.7.
Uh-huh.
And so that was around 2002 because I was just graduating from college.
Uh-huh.
I was a copywriter at the time, so I was working for a marketing company as a
I was a
copywriter.
copywriter at the same time. In 2000, I was a copywriter too,
It
actually.
was fun back then, wasn't
Yeah. Yeah.
it?
Uh-huh.
Like we didn't say, you know, uh, we're all in this together and the new normal and the ad nauseum terms that we've all recorded
Yeah.
over and over again. But no, it's like
Yeah.
it was a cool. So don't you find that having that background benefits you quite a bit as a voice
Yeah.
talent?
Well, it was, especially in writing my demo, with my coach and demo producer,
Right.
because I could write something that would be pretty decent, and then she would polish it up, right, and
Right. Yeah.
turn it all around. But also just like reading, there's so much terrible copy out there. It's
There is.
amazing. There's
And
stuff
part of it
that,
is like a lot of stuff that gets put out there. It's not meant to be commercial work or whatever, right? It's somebody
yeah,
listening, somebody sitting in that office. It's a small business, and someone's just trying to write a script.
yeah,
Um, and even just a lot of the stuff I've done professionally, like it's salespeople writing scripts. Salespeople aren't necessarily copywriters.
no.
Uh,
No, so, that's definitely gonna be a service that I offer people, let me clean up your script,
and that's a great thing to do because I've done that myself, or especially for my international clients.
Yeah,
Hey, here's this thing. Can you help us like make it fit proper English, or
yeah,
how it would sound I'll get people like, oh, we want it to sound like New York, or we want it to sound like LA, or we want it to sound like Toronto. And, uh, you know, like, okay, yeah, you just want to kind of use that kind of language and things like that. And I'll help them massage that script. And
nice,
I think you bring up a great point because it's really everybody in this business, obviously, can do voice work, right? Because that's
right,
what we're getting paid to do. It's
hopefully,
those extra things you offer clients, especially, you know, even the best people in this business, the most successful people, aren't necessarily doing strictly all agency work.
right,
They're doing other stuff and if they don't, as so many of them found out in this year when that dried up,
right,
there's a lot of other work that they felt that at whatever point they were past that, and now they had nothing. I know a lot of very successful talents from like April to about July who were basically like, I have no work.
oh,
So, and that's awful. So,
yeah,
you know, get back to the drawing board kind of thing. And
yeah.
I mean, I retooled the way I marketed and everything. And I was just like, yeah, my goal was just like, I'm going to try and help some people out. Just,
Is that when you, hired Corey, or was that before that?
oh no, the Corey I worked with last in 2019.
Oh, okay.
So officially, like our official business together was in 2019.
Oh, okay.
Corey's just a guy who just, I believe in what he does. I will always, whenever so many talents reach out to me and be like, hey, tell me about the experience, and I'm happy to.
Mhm.
If this was, I always say, like in the radio days too, people will always get you to try and like endorse something.
Right.
And I was like, I will not endorse anything I haven't used or don't believe in.
Yeah.
It's just not in my nature. Like I treat it like, and even referrals, I always said it was like the mafia. I'm like, I won't vouch for you because I
Here's a
might get
guy, you can use him, but I'm not gonna vouch for him. Yeah.
yeah, like he's a friend of mine, not a friend of ours.
Exactly. I hear he does some VO, but I've never heard it.
It's just because that's the way I look at it. I'm like, I don't want to recommend somebody. I recommend somebody as if my life depended on it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like that's the only way I do it.
Your
So I'm very
reputation does.
particular. Yeah. And
You
that's the
got
way
that.
integrity is a big part of how I've always run anything. So it was just, uh, I'd have people all the time be like, hey, do you know a a good mechanic or this or that? And I would only recommend people I'd worked with or I knew,
Yes.
dear friends use or whatever, like
Right.
something like that.
Exactly.
Because that
I'm
happened
the
all the
same
time.
way.
And that's part of the tattoo VO thing is I worked with promoted a lot of tattoo artists and a lot of tattoo shops over the years. And I was
Yeah.
heavily involved in that culture.
Yeah.
And so, but I would have those artists every now and then that would be like, hey man, can you shout me out on the radio? And I'm like, I don't know you.
Yeah.
I don't know your work. Oh yeah, but I was like, no, because then it also just completely sullies any integrity I had with any of
Right.
the other people I actually did promote,
Right.
so
No,
I'm
you got to
very
be
particular
careful with
about
that
that.
stuff.
Yeah. And
So
that's
let
why
me.
it's the same
Oh,
thing with anything in VO. Like, I don't know, like people will be like, is so and so a good coach? I'm like, I don't know. I haven't worked with them,
right.
so I can't give you but I can tell you when people have talked to me about, I've consulted with many coaches, I vet the hell out of anybody I work with.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I put Corey through the ringer. Like we talked for a year before I pulled the trigger.
Nice.
So, and it was just one of those things where I was like, you're on my radar. I will let you know if and when I want to take this to the next level of our relationship.
Yeah, that's
Put
kind
a
of what
ring
I'm
on it.
I'm I'm kind of thinking about exactly. Put a ring on him. Put a ring on him. So let me ask you, what do you owe your success to in VO? You're doing pretty well. You're busy all the time, right? Most of the
Yeah, I
time.
mean, this year's been fantastic. Every year it's grown, and even in the midst of this mess of 2020, like I've had my best year by far. Uh, December has just been slow, but December
It's
oftentimes is.
because we're all in it together.
Yeah. So it's I just keep it on doing it. Like the days where you don't have any work,
Yeah.
just get out there, do some auditions, whatever your method of marketing is, whether you're using social media or you're, just putting out content to get stay top of mind. Just do it because so many of these jobs come out of nowhere. I mean,
Yeah.
there are people I emailed, thought for sure I either got put into spam or they were just like, just had no interest in me. It can be 3 years in between where sometimes I'll get, because I'll look through the thread, when you get an email or
Yeah.
whatever through
Yeah. Yeah.
Gmail or even Outlook or whatever, you'll get this person and they sound like they know you, and they're like, so I'll
How do
look
you
back
know
to see
me?
what our history is. And I'm like, oh, I cold emailed them 3 years ago.
Right. It's planting the
And they never
seed.
responded, but they kept me on file. So sometimes when you hear like, oh, thanks, we'll keep you on file, they really mean it, because there
Nice.
might not be something, and that's the thing, a lot of these video production companies, agencies even, they don't necessarily always use voice. And even if they do, they might already have a roster. And but then maybe something changed, somebody fell off. So just keep on marketing. That's the key to me. It's just do
Hmm.
something to help further plant some seeds each and every day.
Hmm.
That's the best thing I would think that's helped my career. And practice and practice and practice. When you have downtime, just practice.
Yeah.
Just
Sounds good.
just put in like you would any. We've all had those jobs where you're at the office but you're not actually working.
Yeah.
As so many people have seen in 2020 being moved home, right? So
Yeah.
many people are on the clock from 9 to 5, but they get their work done by like 2, 3 o'clock. So,
Right.
and which is great but while you're stuck in the office, you have to be stuck in the office so people do other things. And I always just tell people, just use that time, like give yourself set hours, whatever they are, just it doesn't necessarily have to be 8 hours, but give yourself set hours each day, Monday through Friday, and say, I'm going to do something productive that pertains to my voiceover business during those hours. Whether it's reading out loud, you know, because I don't believe in doing every audition that comes your way. Uh, I did at one point. I used to be that guy.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'll try this. Why not? And it's like, no.
That's not really me. Yeah. I've been trying to figure out I've been figuring out more and more which things I pass up. Because if there's something that I'm reading and I'm reading and I'm reading and I'm not getting it, I think that means something, you know?
Yeah, and that's the thing. I used to spend an hour on something where I just wasn't processing right, and I would just
Yeah.
make sure I could still get that audition out. I'm like, what was the point of that? That wasn't meant for me.
No, well,
So
that was the point, is to
yeah.
make you know that it wasn't meant for you.
But I just wasted an hour of my day on this thing that,
Yeah.
and it's not to say, I'm not saying don't try things that you're not comfortable with. I'm saying try to, as you do this more and more, you're going to learn.
Right.
I get recruited for audiobooks all the time. No, not my forte. As you can probably tell by just this podcast, my voice is already given out just talking to you for the last 45 minutes or whatever. So,
Yeah.
long form narration, not my strength.
And I might try an audiobook just for fun, like maybe a sci-fi one. But to me, it just seems like an awful lot of work for not a whole lot of money. But I will actually have some people on here who are totally into audiobooks, and I'm really
Here's
curious to hear their thing.
a couple of my favorite VOs that I've gotten really close to are audiobook narrators. That's where their bread gets buttered.
Nice.
And that's why I tell them all the time, like, I respect the hell out of you because I can't do it. Like, I just can't. Like, if it's more than 5 minutes of narration, forget it.
Yeah.
Like, I'll do short story things. I've done a lot of those. I do meditation things and things like that. But like, there's also a little more breathing and
Yeah.
relaxation involved with those kind of reads. So a little different. I have severe allergies,
Yeah.
and I rescue animals, so it's like
Yeah.
who I'm all allergic to.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
this
It's a
space
nice
is the
combination.
only like
Yeah.
potentially dander free space in the house.
We have 2. One is this and one is the guest bedroom. Other than that, we have 2
Smart.
cats. Yeah.
So yeah, it's tough. So like that's the thing. I have like the breathing issues, and then like I also have my condition, my spina bifida. So I have like back issues, and it's just like I need to move. Like if I'm sitting still for too long, like
Yeah.
everything just starts to, which
Yeah.
is why I was doing after radio, I was doing insurance sales,
Uh-huh.
and I was literally driving to people's houses. Like
Yeah.
I made house calls to do their insurance work for them. I was
Like double
licensed.
indemnity. Yeah.
Yeah, I was
Help people murder their
long-term
husbands.
care and universal index life and all these wonderful things that are great. But you know, I enjoyed the part of talking to people and trying to help people.
Yeah.
And then I did debt consolidation for people. So
Yeah.
then I was the opposite. I was chained to a desk
Yeah.
where literally we were only allowed to get up 2 breaks, and then lunch. And then like even if I'd get up to just go grab a drink of water, it was kind of
Yeah.
like, where are you going? I'm like,
Oh my
what am I,
god.
5? Am I in kindergarten?
That's terrible.
Like
So
I was
how
in my 30s and I'm like, look, I'm getting the job done. My numbers are good. Like, leave me alone.
Yeah, exactly.
So
So how long have you been doing VO basically only? Well,
only
I
just
mean,
over
and
3 years.
production and stuff like that. What?
3 years since I basically launched this. I mean, I was putting the plans into place
Yeah.
in 2016. I didn't really launch this thing till probably fall of 2017.
Yeah.
So, I was kind of like dabbling and doing different things, just trying to figure it out. So I didn't really hit it full force till fall of 2017.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. So
Um, but
how
it's like it was different for me because I had some of those other things already in
yeah,
place.
that's true. You had
I
the
had
radio.
clients from Baltimore, that all these local businesses in Maryland, DC, Virginia, Pennsylvania, that I already had connections with. And then it was kind of like, just getting it out there and like, hey guys, I'm doing this thing now as a full time. So if you ever need this stuff, and then the stuff would come through. Because my salespeople would always be like, even when I wasn't at the station, they're like, this company, that company, they want you. How
Mhm.
can we make this work? And I would be like, I guess I can roll up to the station and, do that stuff if everybody's going to make it worth my while.
Right.
So I did. I basically freelance, just going back in and cutting spots for people. And then it was like, maybe I should. I thought about doing this back in like 2009. I just didn't have the guts. It really
Uh-huh.
came down to it. I
Yeah.
bought into a rock club that failed 3 years later, and my partner ripped me off of a ton of
Oh
money.
my god.
So
That's so rock though.
yeah, exactly. And I was like, it's a great
Rock
rock
and
and
roll.
roll story. So
Yeah. Yeah. So your success is, hard work, keeping on doing it, some connections in the past, radio in the past.
it's a
Anything I'm missing?
rich tapestry.
A
Yeah,
rich tapestry. Yes.
I just think everybody's journey is going to be different.
Yeah.
Like I have no, because people who come from acting backgrounds, I think they're
Yeah.
probably the best suited for this.
Yeah.
Um, and that's the thing, is like, I did a little bit of theater classes and things like that, and I messed around with that kind of stuff, but I never had like formal acting training. And that's why I think it's fun. Like I do a lot of character stuff that's more over the top and like, or dark characters and whatever. And it's like, um, when I have to play like a normal human, that's where I struggle. because I don't have a proper acting background, which is what I'm hoping to get out of Everett, which he says that he's going to unlock in me. So, uh,
Nice.
I'd say I just don't know how to like play just like a regular Joe, which
Right.
a lot more of the animation even these days. That's what it
Right.
in video games. It's like they're normal. You're just Steve the soldier or
Yeah.
Jim the plumber, whatever. It's
Yeah.
e-learning's full of that stuff, and I think that's a great niche market for people because e-learning's a lot more diverse and not as boring as people think.
Yeah.
But there is a lot of file splitting in that too.
Yeah. So, other suggestions for new voice actors?
Just make sure you understand that it's not going to be. It's going to take a couple years to build up, and there will be work put in and sacrifices made, and it's going to take time. It's a business like any other. You're going to need to.
Tears will be cried, blood will be shed,
Yeah, and
pants will be soiled.
you're gonna hate your life sometimes. Like and imposter syndrome and all that stuff. I had it real bad earlier this month. I
Yeah.
was feeling all like second week of December. I was just like, what the F is the point, man? Like,
Yeah.
it's not like I was starving. That was the thing
Right.
is it's like, oh, the sky wasn't falling. It's just like I had 2 weeks in a row where like I barely had anything worthwhile come through. But
Uh-huh.
then I thought, dude, there's so many people out there that would have killed for those 2 weeks that you had.
Yeah.
So, you got it's not, it's going to be ebbs and flows. You're going to have good months and bad. And at the end of the day, it's kind of like working a sales job,
Yeah.
because you work on commission.
Yes.
So we
Yes.
all
Yes.
work on commission.
Yeah.
Even when you have steady clients, they're not necessarily putting you on retainer. I mean, if you're in like radio imaging and certain other things where like they are jobs where you get put on retainer.
I know one guy who does that. Yeah.
But for the most part in this business, you have no idea where your next check's coming from. So
You
you
should
gotta
come
just
to
keep
our
hustling.
Voiceover South thing one of these days. I'll send you a link. We have one
Where are you
tonight.
located?
I'm in Durham, North Carolina.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but we have an online thing every Wednesday night and every Friday lunch. And I know you're not on Facebook, so but the Voiceover South Facebook group. But I'll send you
I
an
am
invite next
on
time.
Facebook. It's just my Facebook's very just like being my friends and
Yeah,
the again that other side of me that's not dad jokes.
sure. No, I
The opposite
understand.
extreme.
People have been starting to friend me outside of my friend group, and I'm like, I don't know. I guess I'll just behave more, but we'll
It's
see.
just kind of it's tough because like and I don't want to seem insincere, but it's just kind of like there's certain aspects of me that it's not going to be everybody's cup of tea. So I like to kind of keep
Exactly.
it,
Yes, I have
you
a I
know.
have a wicked, dark, and effed up sense of humor, and I have to be careful on Facebook now because of some of who's my friends. But I'll just do it on chat or Discord or something like that now.
Yeah, because I had like when I was heavy into it, it was because it was part of everybody's lives for years.
Yeah,
And from playing music to just the social person I am and
yeah,
traveling the world and just being a radio guy and all that other stuff, like I must have had like 8,000 people on my Facebook, and honestly every single person I had interactions with, like I'd either knew them in person in real
right.
life or
Yeah,
we done business over the phone or in some form or fashion. And then it just became, but I was like, what's the point of this? It was just this distraction. And then a
exactly.
lot of times with political season, things get crazy and
Things
it's
get
just like,
crazy.
so
Exactly.
I try to get rid of it. And Facebook's that thing that won't go away because they own it.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
it's the Borg. And it's like, you have been
You
assimilated.
absorbed into Facebook. Yeah.
Yeah. So then
Uh,
it was early this year. I was just like, screw, you can't beat them, join them, I guess. And I was
yeah.
honestly concerned about like how people were doing when the pandemic set in and all that. So I was
All
just
right,
like,
well,
let me go back
dude,
and
you have
try to
no
just,
excuse. Join the damn group.
yeah, well, I cut like, I cut everything down to like 300 people.
Okay.
And family and friends and stuff. And like I've gotten involved in some of the groups, and the groups I guess I got to find the right groups because sometimes
Yeah.
those groups just get like
They,
it's
they
the
can
internet.
get crazy. They really are. There's only, like the Voiceover South group that I have is really nice. We don't do a whole lot on Facebook, but we get together on the Zoom things. And then there's the Voice Actors of NYC group, which is amazing. That is an amazing.
Yeah, that would be like a small group. Like I love doing these kind of things. Like a
Yeah,
few of us were doing these, and just trying to have like a happy hour. That was a piece of advice given to me by
exactly.
a
Yeah,
friend of mine a while ago when I was getting into this because I was just like, how do people? Because she's the same way. She's a very extroverted person and very outgoing. I was like, how do you keep your sanity doing this job when you're not like
yeah.
going into studios anymore and whatnot?
Good,
And
good advice for people. How to keep your
she's
sanity.
yeah, because she's in South Carolina, so she's in
Yeah,
like the Charleston area,
yeah,
and she's like, we do these happy hours, so like a bunch of us just get together and we drink wine and we talk about the business and whatever else, talk about our families. And
Exactly. That's what we do. Yeah, exactly.
I was like, that sounds like fun.
Yeah.
So I did a few of those with a few friends here and there. But everybody just seems to struggle to like kind of keep it going, like because this business you don't know, and that's what drives my wife crazy. Because sometimes she'll think I'm done for the day. I'll be sitting there watching reruns of Sons of Anarchy, like I was doing earlier. That's been like my. I always have like I have to have something at lunchtime to just veg out to, and that's what I was doing earlier. And then
Mine's
when I
Law
was
and
finally
Order.
able to take lunch. Yeah, SVU has been my big one.
Well, I
That's
went through every episode of SVU in the pandemic, and I now I'm going through the original one. I actually literally you can't find it except to buy it. So I bought the box on DVD for $150. I bought all
great.
21 seasons or whatever it is.
That's what that was the first probably the first like cop drama show or whatever
Yeah.
I was really into back in the late 80s, I think was when I
Yeah.
first started, right? The original one.
Yeah.
So
It's so old that it was the wrong aspect ratio for my DVD player, which
that's
couldn't even
great.
correct it. So everyone looked fat in the first like 4 seasons.
So the
Anyway,
camera does add 10 pounds or something like that.
well, in this case, it added about 30. So let's do a dry read, man. Let's do the read.
Oh my, okay.
Yeah.
Let me pull this thing up.
So I'll just take this moment to remind everyone you're listening to Voiceover. How did you do it on voiceoverpodcast.com, also on YouTube. And this is Dee Alvis.
All right, so we're doing a dry read.
Yeah, I mean, you can take a second to look it over first if you want.
Okay.
Yeah.
Lyft is a lot more than just a car ride. Yeah, you heard me right. Shared rides, bikes, scooters, fancy cars, public transit, and more. And they're all available with your Lyft app. We're always happy to pick you up, but we can help you get there more ways than you thought. Download the Lyft app today and get going.
Nice. That was a great read, man.
Thank you.
Do you want to do some messed up ones?
Yeah, how do you want to direct me and just give me like a what's my motivation on this one?
Okay, so let's start with doing in the arms of the angels, for UNICEF read.
Okay. I very relatable. I remember that.
Yeah.
I think I broke a few vertebrae carrying all those pennies back in the day. Lyft is a lot more than just a car ride. Yeah, you heard me right. Shared rides, bikes, scooters, fancy cars, public transit, and more. And they're all available with your Lyft app. We're always happy to pick you up. But we can help you get there more ways than you thought. Download the Lyft app today and get going.
Nice.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, how about a medical read?
Medical read. All right.
Like
All right.
like medical e-learning or something.
Lyft is a lot more than just a car ride. Yeah, you heard me right. Shared rides, bikes, scooters, fancy cars, public transit, and more. And they're all available with your Lyft app. We're always happy to pick you up, but we can help you get there more ways than you thought. Download the Lyft app today and get going.
Okay.
You want something like over the top dramatic?
Sunday.
Oh, okay. Kill the
monster. Do the monster truck read.
Kill my gain for this. Lyft is a lot more than just a car ride. Yeah, you heard me right. Shared rides, bikes, scooters, fancy cars, public transit, and more. They're all available with your Lyft app. We're always happy to pick you up, but we can help you get there more ways than you thought. Download the Lyft app today and get going.
Nice.
Like pro wrestling, I think.
Okay, now do it sexy.
Oh my God, sexy Lyft.
Do it sexy. This goes out to you, Corey Disson. This goes out to you.
Taxi cab confessions. Lyft is a lot more than just a car ride. Yeah, you heard me right. Shared. I hope I don't have to record anything else today. My voice is shot. This is great. Shared rides, bikes, scooters, fancy cars, public transit, and more. And they're all available with your Lyft app. We're always happy to pick you up, but we can help you get there more ways than you thought. Download the Lyft app today and get going.
On OnlyFans.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, if you want Dee Alvis's OnlyFans page, you're gonna have to message him yourself.
It's $9.99 for the first minute, 35 cents each additional minute.
Nice. All right.
Is that
So
how it works? I don't know.
yeah. So any audition suggestions for newbies?
Just play around like what we were doing just there,
Yeah.
trying it a few different ways, and it'll just kind of unlock something in you. And also might you might see it a few different ways too by doing it that way, because
You hear the
most of these
plane?
scripts are just up for interpretation. You could nail a read. It's just about what that person making the casting decision is thinking in their head.
Yeah.
Because it's there's no rhyme or reason. Don't get me wrong. If there's 100 auditions, 20 of them are probably in that ballpark, right?
Yeah.
But only one of those people is going to get chosen, and it might just be something as simple as, oh, that person reminds me of my grandfather, who I have fond memories of. That might be what gets somebody cast. So you just got to keep putting it out there and just trying things a few different ways. Read the specs, try to understand the product. I think everybody knows what Lyft is at this point. And you don't always get specs. That's part of the problem in this business. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
it's just try it a few different ways. And then before you turn on the mic, see what's comfortable, see what, you feel like you can really tap into, and then go ahead and record it that way. So, that's about, when it comes to auditioning, I just try to keep myself in the flow of how I would think it should sound. I listen to a lot of commercials. That's the other thing. I'm a big listener.
Uh-huh.
So not just coaching, but I feel like if you study what's, when you're watching Hulu, or not that, no, Netflix doesn't have ads, but if you're watching like Hulu or Amazon,
Yeah, I don't
or
skip
one of
the
your other
commercials
apps,
anymore.
yeah, like pay
I mean, if
attention to
people
what
are
they're saying.
talking, I skip them, but if there's voiceover, I don't skip them anymore.
Yeah. And so it's
Like if it's Snoop Dogg talking about that damn door camera, I'll skip it. I've seen it too
he's
many
in
times.
everything now.
I love
It's
him.
just listen to what's out there, and then even and just all the different content.
Yeah.
Because I think it starts to resonate with you, and then you'd say, oh, so look up some good iSpot TV, look up some of the commercials for said product.
Yeah.
If it's a brand name or something, just look it up. And you see like what, because if you're not familiar with the vibe or the branding of said product, then it's a total crapshoot, right? If you never
Right.
knew that BMW and Mercedes were like luxury brands,
Right.
you know, like remember the old Dodge Neon commercials? Like imagine
No.
if you did a Mercedes commercial like one of those, it would just be your like
Or
what were
Dodge Neon
those?
like a Mercedes commercial.
Yeah, so like it was more like fun, up, lighthearted, like it
Yeah.
was catered to, or like the old Jetta commercials where they were supposed to be for like, we're trying to cater to the 17-year-old
Hey,
that's
get a
begging their mom
Mercedes.
for
It'll
a
be
car.
great. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah.
Hey,
70
Mercedes,
grand, no problem.
we're sexy. We're hot. We're expensive. You totally want it. Yes, you do. Yeah. Okay.
Exactly. That's brilliant. I love it. So that's the kind of thing, is like, so if you have no idea and you're just like, it's just a car,
Yeah.
right? There's all those different variables that people don't think about. So just try to look up, if you're not familiar with something, look it up. And even if you are familiar, who knows? Where's the beef isn't what Wendy's is about anymore. So,
Right. What? Oh man. Okay, well, it's do you sit or stand when you're working?
90% of the time these days I sit.
Uh-huh.
So it's just when I'm doing some of the big some of these animated things, like where I'm literally just like flailing.
Sure.
Like,
Right.
yeah, so then I stand. Try not to kill my mic.
Right. Yeah.
So that's the other one.
Easy to do. Yeah.
Yeah, I just found like a lot of times, because I'm recording, and especially the way I have the setup now, it's just more comfortable for me. I like where I'm looking at you right now, that's why I record, and then I just
Wow.
turn 90 degrees and do my editing over here. So
Nice.
it's a familiar setup, I guess, too, because that's kind of how I learned to do a lot of this stuff, where I was in a proper room where it wasn't a booth.
Right.
I prefer to have the space, like a full treated space, than a booth, because then it's
Right.
also that back and forth when you got to do pickup lines and stuff too. I'm just like, where was I in the booth exactly? Was I
Yeah.
up here? And I might have done some other stuff since then. So I've changed the settings on my, just the gain or whatever. So I'm like, oh, now this doesn't match up. I feel like this way, if I got to do a pickup line, I'm literally going on my playback. I'm like, ooh, okay, spinorama. And I'm right back in the position where I need to be.
Oh, nice.
So
nice.
And that's another thing. Just be aware of your proximity and get used to finding that sweet spot. That'll save you a lot of time for anybody new to this. And even for I think a lot of seasoned pros forget about that sometimes. So you just we get a little comfortable sometimes and think.
Yeah.
And then you listen back, and you're like, why is that sound off?
Yeah.
Oh, because I didn't do that little thing that makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
So we all get that where it's almost arrogance or just pure laziness.
Just get comfortable in something you forget, It's called what is it? It's called I should know this from my usability training, and I can't remember it anymore, but it's just like you make an error just because you make an assumption about things. I can't remember anymore. Oh well, they'd be ashamed of me in usability class. So self-promotion time, man. Anything you want to promote?
Really, I guess, obviously if there's something you heard and you think like, hey, this guy might be the right voice for my project, then head on over to tattoovo.com. For any of you newer folks to voiceover, I am look me up on YouTube. I do like helpful videos every week.
Oh, nice.
Like and subscribe. So I call it Ink Positive because it's funny. It's just like, just kind of just 3-minute vignettes of me just explaining some of the stuff and through the journey and just being honest about it. So I found that a lot of folks have told me like those videos have been really helpful. I was actually like, it takes a lot of time for me to get all that stuff done. Especially coming up with a new topic every week for like the last 100, probably I'm going on like 140 of these videos at this point.
Oh my God.
So it's been almost 3 full years. But yeah, like, so that's something for newbies. If you want to check it out, just look up Tattoo VO on YouTube and, you'll see me looking like this, probably wearing a similar hat.
Nice.
All right. Yeah, that's it. So nothing really to promote myself so much, just anything. If you guys need help, I'm here. Just as Ian will tell you, you can reach out to me. I'll always carve out time for folks in this community because I was lucky enough to get some help and still get help from amazing folks in the VO community. So I'm open.
It is one of the most supportive artistic communities I've been a part of. It's
truly amazing.
Yeah.
Because I went lone wolf for a long time because I was just like, I was very guarded.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, that was stupid. I wasted like a year and a half and being like, I could have been in touch with some of these amazing people and probably not tripped over some of those landmines I talked about earlier because I would have known people that could have steered me from them. So
live and learn, man. Live and learn.
Yeah.
Well, sir, thank you very much. It's been great having you on the show.
Yeah, hopefully you don't have to. You're going to be editing a lot, right? Would it be?
No, not 20? Really. No. I don't. I pretty much don't edit anything.
Okay.
Unless there's something I really have to edit, and because I just feel like it's more organic this way. And I'm not a perfectionist as far as this goes. I'm not, I got to take out breaths and ums, and I got to take out empty space. I'm like, you know what? You can deal with a second of dead air.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's good. I like that flow.
Dear listeners, you can deal with a second of dead air.
Yeah, it's not like radio where they get freaked out by that. So like, yeah, you can. I like the idea of just keeping the conversation natural. So this was fun, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, it was really nice talking to you. All right, let me say good night and good luck. Wait, that's Edward Morrow's thing. Oh man, he stole that. You've been listening to Voiceover. How did you do it? At www.voiceoverpodcast.com with me, Ian Kleinfeld. You can watch the video to all our podcasts at voiceoverpodcast.com/YouTube. The background track is 1959 by my alter ego Max Rocket, and you can find that and other songs at www.maxrocketmusic.com. Remember to like, subscribe, write a review, and all that good stuff on whatever podcast streaming service you're listening to, and I'll see you next week. Thanks for listening.